morning. I'm Surah Alawi. I'm the Director of Strategy at Smartworld. Welcome to the second annual CIOMajlis, and thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here. I'd like to introduce and welcome Abdul Qadir Ali, Chief Executive Officer for Smartworld, to give his keynote welcome speech.
Assalamu alaikum. On behalf of the Smartworld family, we would welcome all of you to this second CIO Majlis. Now, the idea really is what's happening here. If we're trying to compare this to something we've done is in 1997. 1997, we saw the birth of an initiative to move the government of Dubai to become more proactive. It is nothing to do with technology. It's to do with customer care and making sure that we're looking after our customers. An initiative called the Dubai Government Assessment Program or Dubai Government Excellence Program. I remember we were in Burj Al Arab when it was open, and His Highness brought his initiative. What he wanted to do is to try to transform the way we are working in Dubai to be more customer-oriented. That vision today is really a reality. Today, Dubai government, with no doubt, is one of the leading government. Very simply, when you go inside, you do not even feel that you are actually in a government initiative. Somebody told me a story. They went into one of the police stations, and they were asking, can I book a room for tonight? Because it transformed what actually we were trying to do in here. The CIOMajlis is a place for the CIOs. I started my career being at one time a CIO. I know sometimes very lonely because you need to connect. Yes, we do respect all the vendors and whatever they can add. But sometimes you really need to try to take an advice from a colleague who knows what you're suffering, what you're trying to do, whether you want to evaluate a vendor, you want to do something and see what you can do with it, or something that you feel you are in the middle between the board and all the customers. A forum that actually brings all the CIOs, where it's from the CIOs to the CIOs. And this is really why Smartworld started this initiative. Now, a lot of people say, if you do not know what Smartworld is, I don't want to try to do a presentation about Smartworld. But if you're looking for infrastructure, IT infrastructure, managed services, penetration testing, if you're looking for X-ray machines, or if you're looking for drone detection, come to us. Today is all about what the CIO going to talk to each other. Today you'll probably notice of all the speakers, probably only we have McKinsey. The rest are from CIOs talking to CIOs to make sure that every third Wednesday of every month, we meet and they talk to each other. The presentation comes from the CIOs to the CIOs or something they actually select to talk about. I don't want to make it long because I know we have a long program. But more importantly, I would like to thank a few people. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for actually being here. More importantly, the CIOs who actually, out of their time, their volunteer time to actually join us here and be part of the discussion. I cannot ignore really thanking Cisco for being our strategic partner. And not to ignore our reporters who are here trying to make sure that we can take this to the next level. And maybe one particular person, some of you may have heard, we were all asleep at 4 o'clock, but the poor guy was actually trying to do all this work. Hamza, thank you for all your work. At the end, I'd like you to make sure that you connect with the CIOs, and actually thank you for being here. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce a colleague of mine who actually I worked with, and a person who I have the most respect, and who is actually the chairman of the CIO, Mr. Ahmed Al-Mullah.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mohammed, for the nice introduction. CIOs, you just mentioned about them being lonely. So I've been in IT for 30 years. I know I look less than 30 years, but being lonely, we work quite a long time to establish something where we can actually have a proper platform where we can get CIOs engaged in real issues and things that they are really bothered, so they can really sleep well. And it happened really end of 2015, beginning of 2016. And I'll talk today about the CIOMajlis journey, who we are, what we do, and how we do it. So, who we are, and what is our vision and mission. So we want to really share, empower, and drive growth. This is our motto. How we do it, we establish a platform where CIOs meet, they exchange ideas, where we can get technology partners from the supply side, where we try to show case studies, and so on. And I will mention I'll go through some of the activities that we do. So this is what really briefly CIOMajlis is all about. Some key milestones, right? So we started in January 2016. That was really when we first established. And I think I want to say very honestly, thank you, Smartworld. They helped us establish this. And without them, this wouldn't have been possible. So we started in January 2016. That was our first, let's say, announcement of CIOMajlis. We had put a very strict target. We said we want to have monthly sessions. Mohammed mentioned earlier, we meet every third Wednesday of the month. We thought initially it would be difficult to do it, but we did it. So far, we actually were very successful having every month. So the first session we had was actually starting in March 2016. From there onwards, every month we had a session. We also do an innovation tour every year, a one-week innovation tour. So in 2016, and we do it usually towards the end of, towards quarter 4 in October. So in 2016, we went to Silicon Valley for a week. It was really a great trip. We have some pictures we'll share with you. The smiles show how much output. Innovation can help you smile as well. So, and then we had our first annual conference. And the purpose of the conference was to come, we go for an innovation tour. We actually take about 15 to 20 CIOs for the tour. We come and we share our findings, what everybody else in the world is doing. And that was really the purpose of really doing the CIO conference. So our first one was last year in March. Then we had the second innovation tour, which was last year in October. And this time it was in South Korea. And I think it showed us a lot of different perspectives. Everybody in the world is actually moving, and we have to move. And this is really the purpose of learning from others. Then we had we reached a milestone of over 200 active members, CIOs, in December 2017. So a great job done by Hamza and the team, and I think also my colleagues at CIOMajlis. We are in April. We organized, by April 2018, we had organized over 24 roundtables. We also do 11 roundtables in a year. Now I mentioned every month, so we have 12 months in a year, but we do 11. One of them we do is during Ramadan. We don't do a normal event. We do a suhoor gathering together. It's an informal get together over suhoor. So that's why you see that we had reached 24 by April. We also had a lot of engagement with universities within the UAE to come up with something for the new generation, which is called the Future CIO Award. And the purpose of that is really to promote innovation in the field of information technology within the new generations. Today, we are old generation. We are hanging on. We are trying to keep going. But there is a new generation that need to take this forward. And the developments happening in the IT field, we are not energized to really push it. It has to be the new generation. And we engage with the universities, the deans and so on. They're very supportive. And we said, okay, let's encourage this through an award. So we are planning to have the first award early next year. Working with universities, people come up with their projects, see what innovation in it, and we try to link it also to the real world. So not just some idea and then no idea that is workable, that actually can be proven to be successful. So our membership is actually, let's say, technology, not just IT, but technology in general. Leading technology executives can become members. We are not a paid membership. This is only by invitation. But we would like members through all technology fields to be part of CIO. So the members get a lot of benefits. One of them is really you plug into a network of a lot of CIO communities and technology decision makers. And I think over 200 is a great number so far. What the members also do whenever we meet, we share a lot of open feedback on projects, vendors, solutions. Some of the presentations are actually real case studies. So members really get to exchange those with others. I mentioned about working with universities to educate students through conferences and workshops. So we have a big engagement with universities. Again, this is to really get the next generation moving. We participate in the local and overseas field trips and educational sessions. So some of the sessions that we have could be a visit to somewhere, locally or outside. Yeah. So one of the other things that we are working on is really benchmarking. Quite often in the people who have been in IT field, most of you have been there. There are so many products about the same thing. Which one to choose? Which one is good? Which vendor is reliable? And so on. So we do a lot of such benchmarking, one-to-one. We are really trying to work on a full-fledged study that provides you regular benchmarking reports on vendors, performance, and products, and so on. The members also can benefit from learning from local and world-renowned leaders on topics relevant to you and your business. So some of the sessions, we actually get people the likes of McKinsey and PwC and others, and technology players to come and talk about what's happening in technology. So vendor community is a big part of our CIOMajlis. Now, the CIOMajlis members, I mentioned we have over 200 members, but they come from all type of industries. You have a lot of list of names. If you don't see your company's logo here, come and see Hamza, because you need to be part of it. But really from different industries, be it real estate, manufacturing, finance and banking, government, and so on. So almost all industries are covered. These are some of the past roundtables. Usually in a roundtable, we get between 40 to 50 people attending, because we know how busy CIOs are. They don't attend all of them, but whenever they can, they attend. And it has been quite useful. You see from the pictures here that the topics also are different topics. So every time we actually try to bring the topics that are of concern for the CIOs. This is when we went to the Silicon Valley tour. I mentioned about the smiles. You can actually check whether I was right or not. But it was a great tour. This was the first time. We were a bit worried it will not be successful, but really exceeded all our expectations in every way. This was the South Korean. You can see some of the people like me who went both years. We look a bit older as well. So this was the South Korean last year. And this was last year's conference, which we had it in March last year. And I want to end up with a quote from His Highness Sheikh Ahmed bin Said. He has been really supporting us. He is a person, I work with him even through Dubai Quality Group and so on. Very, very supportive of innovation and technology. So we wanted him to be with us as well. This conference is done under his patronage actually, but he couldn't make it. So I really want to thank him so much. I also, before I end, I think it's important, just like Mohammed ended, is to thank a lot of people. First of all, I would like to thank Smartworld. I think really a great initiative, and I could see the support that we get from Smartworld on forming these, especially the back office support and so on. So thank you, Dr. Saeed, and thank you, Mohammed. We also want to thank our main sponsor, Cisco. They have been really great sponsors. I want to thank the speakers and the panelists who have really dedicated their time to come here and join us on this conference. And I want to thank my fellow CIOs, those who are attending, and those who are part of the CIOMajlis. We meet quite often on the planning side. Takes a lot of time. But we have one of the members is a great guy. He can explore best coffee shops in town. So if you want that, that's a service we can provide through CIOMajlis as well. And last but not least, I really would like to thank Hamza. Hamza has been great. I've been working with him for the past almost 3 years. He has been great. The guy does everything. The only concern I have that he just got married a month ago. So congratulations, Hamza. We hope that he will continue the same. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, we are going to learn about the fourth industrial revolution and how companies drive impact to scale. From McKinsey & Company, presented by Vinyan Chandran and Gaurang Junjunwala. Thank you. Please come to stage.
So let me maybe introduce myself, and Gaurang can introduce himself also. But hopefully, during at least the session that we have today, we'll make it as interactive as possible. My name is Vinay Chandran. I'm a partner here in Digital McKinsey. I lead our Industry 4.0 practice in the region, and that's also the topic that we'll be covering today. Gaurang, maybe you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Gaurang Junjunwala. I'm an associate partner with McKinsey & Company. Primarily, I focus on the manufacturing sector and bringing digitization into the manufacturing sector. So I've worked across industries in the region, focusing on this space, and that's what we'll speak about today.
Perfect. So before we go into the specifics of the case, I think obviously Industry 4.0 is a term that's been used quite prevalently over the last at least 2 or 3 years within the UAE as well as more broadly. The focus of at least today's session, what we want to talk about is from our learnings of the implementations of this, what has been successful and what has not been. So that's a bit of the focus of the discussion. We won't spend a lot of time explaining what is Industry 4.0. What we'll try to do is cover a few elements within the discussion. One is around why do we think it's important today versus a few years back. The second would be around what are we seeing in terms of successes and failures and some examples around that. And then practically, hopefully, have a discussion with all of you on where do you stand on that journey and what are some of your learnings. So as I said, the first thing we'll talk about is it a revolution or an evolution? The second is why today, and third is essentially around what have we learned from our at least experience so far. The first point around why do we think this particular topic is very relevant today, there are 3 paradigm shifts that we believe are occurring in our society. And it actually relates a lot of the things that you on a day-to-day basis handle. The first is around data and connectivity. The amount of data that we are generating today is phenomenal. And there's a metric that I'll try to at least get a poll around, but essentially that's the first element. Then related to that is the connectivity around it. How do you connect this data? Everyone uses smartphones now. All industrial systems are now connected to a cloud-based platform. So all of this data is not only being created, but also being transformed and ingested into systems and platforms that could be used. So there's a lot of opportunity just because of that. The second is then the intelligence to actually take this data and do something about it. Obviously, people have heard the buzzword around artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning. These technologies today allow you to apply statistical algorithms that have been around for 20, 30 years, but today with the processing power that you have, these algorithms can now actually help humans do certain decisions at a better rate of accuracy. So that's the confluence that we are seeing. A lot more data, smarter systems, allowing you to take this data and improve your own decision making. And the third thing is then, as you look at all of this, there are certain tasks that therefore can be automatically done to a large extent, 100% done by robots, RPA, whatever term you may use, but essentially the automation of activity. So all these three things, all these trends and disruptions allow institutions and CIOs like yourselves to look at the world of business in a completely different manner. And obviously that presents a lot of opportunities for a CIO in terms of how do they help their business counterparts drive value, but also importantly, what are the capabilities that you as a leader need to drive in your own institution, but also help educate. Because a lot of this thing needs education also, because a lot of these technologies and capabilities are quite new for everyone. It's not just new for us in this region, but it's new for everybody, frankly. No one has, at scale, at least in our research with the World Economic Forum, no institution has at scale deployed 4 IR technologies across the entire landscape, right? It is not something that's been successfully done. And we'll talk a bit about that and why that's the case. Any questions on that? I'll try to make this as interactive as possible. No questions? Okay, I promise to ask you one more question now. Okay, yes, please. Thank you.
What do you think? Is it adaptive better than flexible automation? Adaptive, or is it different?
Adaptive versus flexible automation. It's a good question. Let me try to give my take, and maybe Gaurang you can also say. So, adaptive versus flexible. So, the way we think about automation is, as you look at activities of an individual, let's assume a person who's in the plant, in a discrete manufacturing plant, or in a bank or a call center. There are certain set of activities within that person's role that can be automated. And there are certain things that essentially need a certain cognitive ability that as of now we are not at a stage to automate. So if you look at the entire automation, let's say, opportunity, there are several tasks that can be automated, which is, I think, to your point around flexible automation, where you can actually apply techniques to actually automate. But there are certain things that can't be automated yet. For example, in our research, 50% of the activities can be automated. The remaining 50% can't be automated. So when we think of automation, it's more around how do you work collaboratively with technology today. We don't see a world where automation completely disrupts the workforce. But what we do see a world is how does that evolution happen, and how do you at least have a society where automation helps institutions drive more productivity, but also changes the way that people actually work today. You don't want to be doing repetitive tasks. For example, someone in a procurement organization. There are a lot of things from a procure to pay process that can be automated. The benefit of that is the person who is a procurement manager can now have more value-adding discussions with his counterpart in the business to understand what are the things. So that's a bit how we think of automation. I don't think I've answered your question 100%, but at least this is where we think the concept of automation, be it either flexible automation. Okay, very good. So question for the audience here. What percentage of today's data has been created between the Stone Age and today? Or 2015, and this holds true even for 2017 also. Any thoughts? Any questions? Any answers? Yes?
0.001.
Tell me why 0.001? What's your
because
metric
if you
on
look
that?
at the exponential it's
Yes.
going, probably we find it at 0.001.
So, so I guess your hypothesis, a lot of data today versus no data in the beginning,
Very
right?
little, very little. It's 0.001 from what it's going to become.
Got it. Any other thoughts?
Any other thoughts?
Okay. His hypothesis is very true. The last 2 years, we've generated more data than we ever actually had generated as a humankind. And the way we are generating, as you said, the next 2 years, we will generate even more than ever. So the amount of data being generated is phenomenal. And especially as a CIO now, that has a lot of implications. If your institution is going to, let's say, apply a machine learning model that takes in image analytics, the amount of data that's going to be generated on your back end is going to be much more different than what you've potentially assumed in terms of your, let's say, IT infrastructure. And as businesses start adopting these technologies, the implications for you and your business actually are quite different. That doesn't mean you need to ingest all the data, but the point is there is a lot of data that you can capture. And we'll show you some examples of what that means. So you're generating a lot of data, a lot more devices are being connected, thanks to obviously the iPhone and all of the devices similar to those. You are able to actually capture this data in different moments in time, in a consumer's journey, in a B2B journey, any journey that you look at. And therefore, all of this is driving a lot of value. We are seeing obviously a big uptake in e-commerce within the region, but globally if you look at it, 12% of trade actually happens in e-commerce. Right? And I know in Dubai we're actually looking at much more innovative ways of driving this behavior, drones for B2B, logistics, etc. All of these things are actually happening. So this again is a confluence of those 3 points that we at least mentioned earlier. Another question. And this question, the challenge with this is the performance of these algorithms are changing on a daily basis. But let's at least try to get some guess. What are at least humankind's image and speech recognition error rates? Any thoughts? So essentially, what I'm trying to ask is, for every 100 words, for example, on the speech side, a translator, what is his error rate? 8%, okay. 8%, any other thoughts? 5%. 3%. 1, okay, now we're getting close. Okay. So the answer, so that's the right hand side, sorry. Let me move. A humankind, at least the last research that's been done is around 5% or so. 4.9 is around where translators have the ability in terms of the error rate that they make for every 100 words. Now the beauty of this is, if you look at this, with deep learning, for example, Microsoft, Google, etc., their AI algorithms, every couple of months they're trying to beat this record. In 2017, around early parts of the year, Microsoft came back and said that their speech recognition algorithms were at 5% or so. A couple of months later, Google comes and announces that they're at 4.9%. And I actually don't know what the metric today is, but the way that this is, the agility and speed in which this metric is going down is actually quite phenomenal. Especially if you look at in 2010, it was at 27%. So the importance of this is that it enables so much other opportunities. If a machine is able to actually encode and decode speech, your call center business completely changes. The way you interact with consumers and citizens completely changes. You don't need paper, for example. You don't need a lot of activities that you've assumed today. Now the same goes for image also. It's below 5%. That's also been improving quite dramatically. And on Dubai Police also, at least in the region, there's a lot of experiments on how do we use image analytics to improve at least citizen experience. So the point here is that as you look at these technologies as a CIO or as any institution, the agility of your institution to adopt and actually accept this is important because things are changing very quickly. And that's what we're quite excited about. Okay. This just shows practically an example. This is for an oil rig. If you just look at today, the amount of data that an oil rig generates versus the amount of data that is being used for certain decisions in the actual, let's say, maintenance side is practically zero, right? Versus the amount of data they're generating. So if you look at predictive maintenance algorithms or even any other types of optimization algorithms, there is 100% of data that is being generated, and it's less than 1% that actually is being used by at least humans or machines to make decisions around how an oil rig should be operating. That does not mean obviously that you should go and start using all the 100%, but there is a lot of opportunity in between. And that's the question at least we're trying to ask some of our institutions. Let me hand it over to Gaurang for the next section. But any questions on why we think that this is exciting or any reflections on your side, what you've seen in your institutions? No? Okay, let's move forward.
So moving forward, I think, just take one step back. There are effectively 4 technologies, and these are not really new technologies. These technologies have been around for years. It's just over the last decade, they have been extremely accessible. By accessible, we mean there are skills and talent available in markets beyond just specific centralized markets. They're getting cheaper. So earlier, let's say if for example, if you look at just internet, the cost of internet, and if you think about how much you pay for the internet at your home, or the speed that you're getting for the internet at your home, it's decreasing drastically. And that's what makes these technologies accessible. And to break it down, there are 4 technologies. Right? There's advanced analytics, and this can take shape or form in different kinds of algorithms. There's digitization connectivity. There's the human-machine interface, your virtual reality, augmented reality, and then there's digital physical. And these are the technologies that in manufacturing in particular, industries are using today to take the next leap and transform their operations into more productivity, especially related to assets, but also manpower. Right? How do you improve the productivity of your people? And of course, it's important that all these technologies are built on a strong base of business model innovation, because to integrate these technologies, you will need to innovate, change your business model itself. Let me give you some examples of how these technologies are changing the day-to-day of some of the companies we work with. For example, advanced analytics. This is a simple chart. It's showing a heat map of what the population heat map looked like a few years back to what we can do today, which is get an hourly rate of traffic intensity for every 100-meter block. Right? These are just, it's a few years apart. A couple of years back, this is, would be considered good data. This is the expectation today. Now, when you think about this for your businesses, the expectation from the users, the business side, from you as the CIOs, would also be to go from this image of visualizing their KPIs, their processes, insights from the data they generate, to this high definition image where they can really go into deeper insights and make wider recommendations on changes or improvements on their business. So the CIO's role also, from leveraging these technologies, changes from just visualizing data with limited insights to actually creating data which can lead to more business-oriented insights and therefore be a closer partner to the business. Now today, beyond this, we are working with companies in the region that are using advanced analytics to improve the yield of their production processes. So a chemical plant uses advanced analytics to empower the operator to have access to just knowledge and decisions that he earlier relied only on his gut feel or knowledge on. Okay. So suddenly now the operator is empowered to get more information than he would have to make decisions, and these are the things that improve your throughput by 2% or your yield by that extra 0.5% that gives you the next leap of productivity. And we see real examples of these in the region today. So overall, I think advanced analytics is one big area where I see a lot of movement, and it's one area to go from data to insights, where you as CIOs can also help the businesses. This is where they become your customers on a more business partner level.
Have any of you tried applying analytics or advanced analytics, machine learning models in your institutions? Any reflections that the group can benefit from? Too shy to share?
Anything, maybe even small algorithms. It does not need to be a
competitive edge. No, but that's a very good point actually. So a discussion I was having with the CIO actually a couple of weeks ago was a lot of solutions are available. For example, supply chain forecasting. You can actually buy a supply chain forecast from a lot of vendors today. And they will have, to a certain extent, a certain type of model that they have developed, which is, to a certain extent, let's say maybe machine learning based, that predicts forecasts and has an accuracy of, let's say, 70%, 80%, etc. The question you rightly putting it is, what is it that you want to differentiate and have a competitive advantage on? And if it is, let's assume if you are a retail apparel manufacturer where for you it is very important that the margin that you're generating is actually the competitive advantage, and you're a brand which maybe it's not as premium as some of the other brands, then therefore your supply chain has to be super competitive. And you have to basically avoid marking down your stock or your merchandise, making sure the merchandise is actually in the right place at the right time. And therefore, supply chain becomes a competitive advantage. And then you therefore have to then say, I actually need to go above and beyond what a standard vendor may provide in terms of a tool and a solution. What that means then is I need to have the capability internally to be able to write machine learning, let's say an R model. I need to have some sort of Hadoop platform and all obviously the infrastructure around it to create that capability. Because that's where my distinctive competitive advantage is. So as you correctly, as Sir pointed, the institutional competitive advantage discussion has to be also taken into account, because you don't need to apply ML everywhere. But where it matters for your business and where it links to your strategy is exactly where the value is created. It's a very good point.
I'll just give one more example on advanced analytics. It's an internal example at McKinsey. So, like most organizations today, when McKinsey is digitizing itself, and in our business in McKinsey, I think the resource or what matters the most are people. So today, McKinsey HR collaborated with McKinsey Digital to run algorithms related to people analytics in terms of recruitment, in terms of development, to understand what are the profiles of people that we recruit or we shortlist that really go on to become partners in McKinsey or so forth. And it gave amazing insights into behavioral patterns, what drives motivation within the employee group, what works, what doesn't work, and of course, what are the right places to target when we are recruiting. Right? Something very simple, and I think that's where just for the CIOs, that's where you can start. Right? Just have the conversation with business that what is the pain point, and you'll see that there are either tools or simple bespoke models that a data scientist can develop that can really help you solve some of these core issues that your business is facing. Second, digitization and connectivity. Now, here there are a ton of examples. You see a few on the screen here. Of course, there's automation. There's robotic forklifts. In the mining industry, I'm sure a few of you at least have seen the videos of how Rio Tinto is automating entire mines. So they don't have people on the mine anymore, the age-old traditional way of doing things. In fact, they don't even have people once the ore is offloaded onto the train. The train system is automated as well. And the entire group of people are sitting together in one room as big as this one, monitoring things through one screen and controlling things remotely. 100% improvement in safety, 20% improvement in productivity in less than a year and a half since they started implementing it. Massive changes. Automated warehouses. I think everything from stacking and movement to inventory in, inventory out. I think there are some common technologies that have been used for a long time, like RFID to track and so forth. But optimizing the warehouse space itself using automation and connectivity, and knowing where at any point of time what is the orders coming in, orders coming out, and planning accordingly. Again, several, I can go on these topics. I think there's quality management. There's one example for a car company. I'll give you one example which I was a part of. It was a steel manufacturer, and they had 40% of their product with quality issues. And nobody knew why. The best operators, the best experts, they came and they didn't understand why. And they started looking back. They did the advanced analytic algorithms. Lots of information came out, but again, very difficult to point out what it really was. And what they realized was that, at this point they realized, okay, we need more information. So they put more sensors in different parts of the plant. And what they realized was, once the sensor data started coming back, was there was a certain batch which was going through the furnace at a slower speed. For some reason, which was never detected, but the average speed was the same. As soon as they started measuring it at more data points, they realized that there was a part where it was slow, and that changed the quality of the product. So just by understanding this small, it seems like a small piece of information, they reduced their error rate from 40%, quality improved from 40% error rate to something like 7 or 8% error rate. Huge difference in operations. So it can be used for quality improvement, it can be used for automating your warehouses. We can use it, of course, collaborative robots. I don't know if any one of you have seen the Amazon video where there's a group of people packaging in their warehouses. But Amazon, they have wearable devices, and they package the products in a certain way to ensure efficiency and quality of the packaging. If they're not doing it right, they get a small buzz, a small vibration, so they know they need to do it right. And it's automated. There's no human interface required. So the possibilities are endless. I think it's just about identifying what the challenge is and then going from data to insights. And there are the tools and technology today to help you do that. Now, just before I go into what we see today, any thoughts at this point? Anything that you'd like to share with the group? Anything you've experimented with or seen that is interesting? Maybe a good point to discuss.
Thank you. I think it's interesting to talk about 10x. That's the one that's actually utilizing the disruption of technology.
Right.
Do you know anything about it? Or
10x?
10x. 10 times faster, 10x.
I don't, do you know, Vinay, about 10x?
You mean the local initiative here? Yes. So I think here, our view is to the point that at least the.
Well, I'm looking at disruption at 10.
Yes, exactly. Is as you look at business models, and you look at this application of those business models in these various institutions, so when you look at this at a sector level, right? There are opportunities for certain countries or certain sectors to leapfrog completely and become competitive. And that is the concept of 10x, or the disruption that you have through 4IR. Because what happens now is, today you may be in a sector or let's say an industry where there are 10 steps in a process. 10 steps, for example, the merchandise planning example that we showed, or also this warehousing example. And because of those 10 steps, and because of your labor sector situation, and because of whatever trade barriers you may be facing, there is a certain cost of production that you may have. What we are finding is, at least in some of the sector work that we've done for institutions and nations, there are certain sectors which were uncompetitive, let's assume in this region, that can become world's competitive just by applying to this point at scale Industry 4.0 technologies. That is the opportunity that this 10x concept actually generates, because you now don't need to do those 10 steps of those processes anymore. You only need one step. And because capital as of now, at least as of now, is relatively cheap in terms of at least acquiring and financing, institutions are saying, forget lean, optimization, etc. I am going to take Industry 4.0, build a plant of the future, or build a service center of the future that is completely automated. And what that allows me to do is not just compete regionally, but globally, and become competitive. And that is the opportunity. Now, the challenge that institutions then face is a bit of what this page is trying to say, and what we'll talk about a bit later, is how do you do that? Because it's not easy to build a plant of the future, because you need capability, you need what we call data engineers, data scientists. All these skills and capabilities don't exist today, at least at scale in markets like ourselves. And that is where institutions are struggling. So institutions, therefore, globally we've seen this, they are stuck at pilots. They've done an Industry 4.0 pilot or an advanced analytics pilot. It's very successful, it's celebrated. But how do I take that and apply it across all my processes, across all my parts of the business, is where they face a challenge. So they're stuck in what we call pilot purgatory. Just 2 pilots, 3 pilots, it worked very well, but after that they haven't seen institutional or enterprise-wide benefits. And that's a bit of where the 10x the aspiration is great and is achievable, but we need to somehow figure out a step to get there. So my only advice, or our advice to all of you, would be that as you think of your transformations, as you think of any applying 4.0 in your workplace, think of these 3 elements, and central to that is obviously change management. But think of the business, because a lot of 4IR conversations, at least when we've interacted with our clients, is very much oriented towards the bottom part, technology. Technology is important, but I think as you as CIOs can help inform your business counterparts that the whole thing has to change to get to that scale. You need to have a different set of capabilities in your business. You need to understand what this means in terms of how to apply that within, on a day-to-day basis. Organizationally, it's a completely different skill set. You need to upskill your individual organizational talent as well as hire potentially new capabilities. And technology obviously has a big important role. But all 3 have to come together. If all 3 don't come together, you're unfortunately not able to drive the change that you can. I think we'll have to end it there, given the timing. But hopefully that was helpful. And obviously we are around to have discussions further. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please remain on the stage. Thank you, Binyan and Gaurang. Please remain on the stage. We'd like to invite Abu Mohammed, Chairman for CIO, to present token of appreciation.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next, we're going to learn about Dubai paperless strategy. Last February, the Crown Prince of Dubai, Sheikh Hamad bin Mohammed Al Maktoum, launched the Dubai paperless strategy. This new strategy falls in line with the vision of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of UAE and the ruler of Dubai, to transfer Dubai into fully pledged smart city. In other words, after the year 2021, no employee or customer of the government of Dubai will need to print any paper document. To tell us more about this strategy and its impact on the citizens' happiness, I would like to call on the stage to Moses Waidan, Director of Strategy and Innovation of Smart of Dubai, to tell us more about it. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and Your Excellencies. I'm Moses Waidan. I'm very happy and excited to share with you today our Smart Dubai journey. Hopefully, we're going to learn something new together. Coming here today, I just couldn't help scanning the room for paper. So if you have any paper, please hide it. I hope this presentation is going to inspire you to truly go paperless, and there is an impact that is beyond just being digital. There is a huge impact on the economy of the country and the way the government actually works. Okay, so everything that happened through the journey of the city of Dubai have been always inspired by the leadership vision. We always had that next level, innovation. We always had challenges that we have to overcome. We always had very ambitious objectives and visions that we had to achieve. We all know that in the middle of the 80s, when His Highness, the late Sheikh Saeed bin Maktoum, instructed to build the Jabal Ali port in the middle of nowhere, but he had a vision that Dubai will become the global trading hub, which we actually did. In terms of the smart transformation, our turning point was actually in 2013, and I think most of us remember this picture, where Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Allah yahfadha, Vice President, Prime Minister, and ruler of Dubai, have actually instructed that all the government services must exist in the hand of the citizen. Since then, the entire government worked non-stop to make this happen. However, knowing that we always look into the future, we're no longer talking about smart government. We transformed into talking about smart city. And this is where the Smart City Initiative was actually launched in 2014. And since then, again, the entire government and the partners in the private sector have worked non-stop to make that happen. In Smart Dubai, our vision is not to use the most technology and the most advanced technology. We use it as a tool, absolutely. But our vision is to make Dubai the happiest city on earth. We look into the impact. The measurement of our success is the impact that we create on people's life. We're talking about the quality of life of our citizens, visitors, creating experiences that will really improve how the city operates. In February 2018, the Dubai Paperless strategy has been launched by His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid, Crown Prince of Dubai, with a very specific objective and very clear objective to go paperless by 2021. And we have actually a very specific date that I hope that everyone in this room will remember by the time I finish the presentation. What do you mean by going paperless? We're not talking about smart services because we have already achieved smart services. We are already at a very high maturity level at the government where most of our services are offered through multiple channels, not only through mobile. So 100% digital, inside and out. So in all the customer-facing services, as well as our own internal operations. So no longer paper are used in finance, procurement, operations, production, whatever businesses you're operating in. There shouldn't be any single paper. In 2020, our objective is on that. By that time, we will not be issuing, processing, or requesting any paper from our customers or even internally inside our transactions and daily operations. The Dubai Paperless strategy is sitting on 3 main pillars, and you can read this as these are the key reasons why we have paper, in our operations and even our services that we offer. The service might be really fully automated and fully digital and offered through multiple channels. However, there might be paper that's still running within the process. There might be document that we still ask our customers to provide, although we do have the document somewhere in the system. So one of the pillars is technology. Smart Dubai mandate is actually to provide the digital backbone of the city. So our mandate is to provide the government and the private sector with platforms to enable them to go fully digital. I think technology is not an issue. Technology was never an issue. There is other elements that we actually look at when we really want to transform into a paperless government. The second pillar, which is legislation. Unfortunately, currently, we do have legislations and policies and laws that have some constraint when it comes to moving to totally digital. That, for example, digital signatures and digital identity is still something that we are currently working at to make it a reality. Our legislations have to keep up with the technology and keep up with the 4th industrial revolution that we just talked about as well. So this is something that we're also tackling through the Dubai Paperless strategy. The third element is culture. How many of us is actually printing documents to review? Although I have it digitally, I just want to have the luxury to actually make notes on the paper. Yes, I'm guilty too. So it's a huge culture shift that we're creating, not only in the internal organization culture, but also even with the customers. We use paper to be comfortable. We want to have, at the end of that service or transaction, we want to have a paper in our hand that says, yes, this service has been provided or this payment has been done. It's a change in culture. It's building trust with our customers that if we tell you the transaction is done and we get an SMS, it is actually done. So this is another element that we're currently also working on, changing the culture, working on legislations, and making and shaping the technology to work for us. We have done a very quick, actually, calculations and study internally in Smart Dubai to estimate how many number of paper we currently use. We say we are smart, we do have smart services, we have really reached a level of maturity. However, we still have 1 billion paper produced by the government entities having all the transactions and all the operations and all the services that we offer. Just think about the impact and the cost of actually managing, procuring those number of sheets, processing those paper get lost. You know, we already have a lot of this paper already in our systems. We just need to optimize the operation to make use of it. Looking at the environmental aspect, now, as I said initially, we always look into the impact. Absolutely, it's about government operation efficiency, but also this 1 billion paper cost can actually feed 4 million children around the world. And this is an annual number, by the way. This is, in 1 year, we produce 1 billion papers. If we cut down this number, we can give ourselves and the citizens 40 hours that you can utilize in something that is much more meaningful than just processing paper and moving them from one place to another.
40 hours per day, per week?
I mean, we calculated the average interaction between a citizen and a government with very key kind of services that you go through. It's 40 hours per year. Sure. It's the government of Dubai, represented by 60 plus government entities. Environment, if we cut down 1 billion papers, we are actually saving 130,000 trees. That is 5 times as big as the Central Park in New York. So you can see it's not only government efficiency, it's much more depth and many dimensions that we are looking into. We have a date, and this date, we either celebrate our achievement or something else, and we hope that it's only our achievement. So by 12 December 2021, the last paper in the government will be actually maybe shredded. So I think this deadline is not only Smart Dubai, it's not only the government of Dubai, it's the entire country. We all have to work together to make this happen. In Smart Dubai, we are done talking about the future. We are creating and we are shaping the future. And I would like to welcome all of you, government entities and private sector, to work with us towards achieving that. We are very much open for partnership to make this happen. Thank you so much. Any questions? No questions?
Thank you very much, Moza. I'd like to invite Abu Mohammed.
I have one point to add. Going paperless is very important, and we did it in 2011 in Etihad Airways. Going paperless is one thing, but re-engineering the process behind it is very important, because you don't want to carry the same things as today into a paperless, meaning that there are so many forms, there are so many things you don't need it, you have to cut it. And we did this for our crew when we have cut their forms from 30 into 15 only by, re-engineering the process, and then we have to get a special approval. So I think this is very important.
Absolutely. Let me just answer this question. Now, the strategy has been launched in February 2018. We already initiated the project with 6 government entities, key government in terms of services that they offer, like Dubai Police, DIWA, RTA. And we already looked into how can we cut down paper, and there is absolutely a big, significant effort is actually going towards looking into the processes. We went further, actually. We studied around 2,000 government services that is offered today. Government services through 60 government entities. I mean, we are supposed to reveal this later on, but we are currently working towards creating journeys out of those, services. You no longer, if you want to drive a vehicle in Dubai, you're no longer required to go through private sector for finance, for insurance, as well as the government sector for license and for everything else. We're creating a seamless journey that the citizens will actually, at the end of it, will get what they really need. It's not about services, it's about journeys. So we're trying to create experiences that are seamless, efficient, safe, and also caters for what we really can offer the customers and meets their expectation. At the end of the day, as we mentioned, it's the happiness that matters. So definitely this is one of the elements that we're currently working on with the entire government of Dubai, starting with first phase, and then hopefully we'll go through all the different services that we offer. Yes.
The presentation is really very impressive, and I would like to commend on that tremendously. However, I would like to throw a question. And how would you go for the digital ID? Have you thought of that? And what are the measures to be taken to ensure a digital ID spread all over Dubai?
Sure.
Thank you.
Did anyone heard about UAE Pass? UAE Pass. We already have now Dubai ID, which is a digital identity of the citizens. You can actually register and you have your documents and you can do transactions through mobile app like Dubai Now to pay your bills and do that and create your digital ID. We're now transferring into UAE Pass. We're working with federal government and federal entities to actually have a law that will support putting the legislation framework around it that will really make digital ID and digital signature something that is approved by any legal and court and all these authorities. So this work has already started. It is evolving. And hopefully in October, you can all come to our place in GITEX and you can learn more about UAE Pass and learn more about even the Dubai strategic, the Dubai paperless strategy as well. So work already started. Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah, kind of.
Okay. We can discuss later on in the break.
Yeah, I would appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much.
Yeah? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosa. Thank you very much again. Thank you very much for coming back for the second part of the morning. Before we start, I'd like to invite Ram Tolani to stage to extend his invitation to his current currency museum. Please come to stage, Ram.
Distinguished audience, I got carried away with the presentation of the chairman that what is this forum doing, their achievements, their goal, and their mission. Thus, I thought, as one of the participants today, I would extend an invitation to our currency museums, which goes 5,000-year-old currencies, especially one coin which has come to see by many royalties. It is from Hijri 13. It reads, Allah, then Prophet Muhammad's name, be peace upon him, and for 4 Khalifas, which is a part of my collection in the museum. I extend an invitation to first 30 registrations to visit our museum, where we would host them an homemade Indian brunch as well. So please feel free to come, any 30 of you, on your convenient days, and let this be a session, 30-30 group, which can enjoy. This invitation is open to one and all through the board of our chamber today. Thank you very much, all of you. It is Goodwill Museum, Google Goodwill Collection. My name is Ram Tolani, and in case if permits, I would bring you an international speaker who is born and brought up in Dubai, who is student of Dr. Isa Bastaki. Under him, he has done PhD, and today he is world's renowned speaker, where his audience goes up to 8,000 people. In case if he is available, I would arrange him to address the gatherings. Thank you very much, all of you.
Next, we're going to learn about innovation in action within the government sector. With the rising popularity of Internet of Things, cloud, edge computing, and more, many state and local governments are implementing technologies to make their cities smarter. Smart cities aim to provide a better and more connected life for their citizens and make themselves more suitable and efficient. To tell us more about that, we'd like to invite to the stage Dr. Saeed Al-Bahri, Chairman of Smartworld, and the panelists, Yusuf Al-Shaba, Digital Transformation Advisor to the Chairman of Ajman Municipality. Muna Al-Falasi, Head of IT at the Executive Council for the Government of Dubai. And Nawal Al-Hassani, Executive Director of Strategy and Planning Sector at the Department of Culture and Tourism for Abu Dhabi. Please join us to the stage.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this session. I hope it's going to be an exciting session about innovation within the government sector. We've been hearing about the latest disruptive technologies of AI, blockchain, gamification, the latest trend, whether it's in business model innovation or technology innovation. I think this session trying to get people to represent the country. We have people from Abu Dhabi, His Her Excellency Nawal Hassani, Executive Director of Strategy and Planning, Department of Culture and Tourism in Abu Dhabi, and also we have Muna Al-Falasi, Head of IT at the Executive Council in Dubai, and we have with us also Yusuf Al-Shaba, Advisor to His Highness Sheikh Ahmed bin Rashid Al-Naimi, the Chairman of Ajman Municipality and Planning Department. It's quite interesting, just the announcement that I heard from Mr. Tolani about the museum, the money museum. So, and came to my mind immediately because a few days ago, I was also on another session moderated by His Excellency Khalfan about the future of cryptocurrencies and about the regulations. So we live in a world today and where we see these disruptive technologies are reshaping, the way we live, the way we work, and the way we interact with each other. So when we hear the Museum of Money, are we going to, in about maybe 5 to 10 years, are the paper money going to disappear? What's going to happen? Are we going to, when we look to our dirhams and our fiat currencies now, maybe 15, 20 years down the road, and we say, wow, we miss those days when we used to deal with paper money, our transactions and our interaction will be more of a digital and virtual currency. It's quite interesting to see, and if I get a chance, Tolani, I will make sure to visit your museum and look at the collection that you have. But it's just to think about the future, where we are going. Some things that cryptocurrencies are going to be the future of money. Some thinks that it is probably the largest or the biggest scam in the past 20 years. This is not the story of this panel, but I think it's one of the disruptive technologies that we should watch out and we see how we can deal with it. Let me introduce our panelists this morning to know where they came from and what their background. So I'm delighted really to have with us this morning Her Excellency Nawal Al-Hassani, an Executive Director of Strategy Planning at the Department of Culture and Tourism of Abu Dhabi. Nawal has Her Excellency Nawal has more than 15 years of experience in the field of strategic planning and IT management. She currently holds the position of the Executive Director of Strategy and Planning Sector at the Department of Culture and Tourism. And she has played a role in the digital transformation of the tourism and culture sector in Abu Dhabi. Her Excellency has led various innovative solutions in an effort to promote happiness and the engagement of employees, such as the introduction of gamification solution in the customer support service, which I think is quite interesting to hear today about this experience, and the implementation of artificial intelligence service desk agent serving more than 200,000 customers. So lately, I just heard also yesterday from your colleague Fawaz that I want to congratulate her for winning the best digital maturity department in Abu Dhabi. Department of Culture and Tourism, they won the best digital maturity department. So thank you, Nawal, for taking this time to be with us this morning. And also we have Mona Al-Falasi. Mona is the head of IT and the Corporate Excellence Department at the Executive Council in Dubai. Mona graduated with a Master in City Science from RIT, an interesting discipline, City Science. She worked previously in the private sector and came with an extensive exposure to business and IT alignment. Mona worked on major initiatives on city level, such as the Unified Complaint System in Dubai in 2009, and also the Information Security project leading to the ISO 27001 in 2009 as well. Currently, she is the head of IT unit at the Executive Council, leading the business IT transformation projects. And with us as well also Yusuf Al-Sheba, an advisor to His Highness Sheikh Rashid bin Hamid Al-Naimi, the chairman of Ajman Municipality and Planning Department. For 8 years, Yusuf was leading digital transformation strategies and smart government initiatives and the IT governance committee at Ajman Municipality and Planning. Yusuf has more than 28 years of experience and is known for his deep technical knowledge and vision when it comes to government sector services. Before joining Ajman Municipality, Yusuf worked also for about 16 years in Dubai as the head of IT in Dubai Municipality. So we want to welcome our panelists today. I think they will have a tremendous knowledge that we want to really entice you, the audience, about the latest disruptive technologies and what's happening and how the government is actually innovating and leading. You know, in our country, I think that the government departments, you know, usually the private sector leads innovation in other countries. But in UAE, I believe that we reached to a stage where the government is leading innovation and private sector is following these efforts. So, of course, you know, we know that then the UAE has the government in 2015 announced the National Innovation Strategy and then appointed a national committee. Since then, the effort of innovation in the government never stopped. We recently, in the past 2 to 3 years, the government has launched the UAE Artificial Intelligence Strategy. It has launched the 4th Industrial Revolution Strategy. Lately, in 2017, the government also launched the Emirates Blockchain Strategy 2021. Dubai before has launched the Dubai Blockchain Strategy 2020. So with all these strategies, and we see how the government is trying to forecast the future and use those technologies, disruptive technologies, as we heard earlier from Moza, from the Smart Dubai, is to really the ultimate purpose of this is to make people happy, to make people who lives in the city or who lives in the country satisfied, happy with the government trying to provision the government services to the public for the ultimate goal of happiness. Plus, of course, you know, cutting cost and also achieving efficiency and productivity gains. So I'm not going to take much of this time. I think we need to hear from our panelists. We'll start first with Her Excellency Noel. Noel, you know, I want you to focus a little bit on some examples of digital innovation in your organization and share with us some of the practices, whether it's a technology or a process or structure that you have embraced in the DCT, Department of Culture and Tourism, to support innovation.
Thank you, Doctor, for giving this opportunity. And I believe that, as you said, it is nice to show everybody how government can lead innovation. And it's not about budget or money, it is about ideas. In DCT, or Department of Culture and Tourism, in our digital transformation, we focus more on people. And when we say people, it's not the customer only, but also it is our employees. And this is why we thought of implementing gamification. It was a new technology, a new trend, but also we didn't go to implement it because it's a new trend, but because we really found big value in gamification. So the satisfaction level of our customer was always high in our organization. However, our ambition was to increase happiness and to make sure that we are also become proactive in our services rather than reactive. So in gamification, we focus more in making sure that our employees will be happy, will be enjoying their work. They will be really happy to receive these tickets from the customer, and they will be really happy to serve them better, because at the end, if the employees are happy, then the customer will be happy. For the gamification, we changed the way our technical support provide the daily troubleshooting and daily support for different technical services that we have. It is not becoming a ticket, a task where they have to close it by the end of the day to make sure that their performance will be high. It is like a game. We make sure that our employees in the IT department competing to each other like they are playing one famous game. We started with noticing that the age of our technical support is really, they are young generation. Many of them play games, and many of them are really into gaming and into competition. And this is why we thought that it's better also that this initiative is being led by themselves. So we did not lead it as leader. We appointed one person from the technical support, a young guy. He was a fresh graduate, less than no experience, and in less than 6 months he was able to lead this innovation and transformation from traditional technical support ticketing system to gaming. So in the gaming, people compete to close the ticket as soon as possible. Not only that, but also we encourage them to exercise some of the values like cooperation and team working. So also we make it very valuable for them. If, for example, one technical engineer decides to help his colleague because he sees that from this big panel that his colleague is really having too much load of work, if he volunteers to take some of the ticket of his team, he will gain more points. And with these points, he can really ask for reward or for...
what are usually the rewards that you give to people?
It depends. What we did is we didn't want to open the store until people really reach high level of performance. Once they reach that level, we made it very open for them. We asked them, what do you want us to put in the store for you? So many of them said they want monetary reward, and some of them also said being working in tourism and culture, it is good to have some voucher in hotels as well as in maybe some restaurants, etc.
Excellent.
So gamification was a big transformation for us. We also noticed that after the implementation, six months after the implementation, happiness went high by double. Dissatisfaction went down. One of the values that we were able to foster is cooperation, team working. We noticed that our employees do not really want to go back home, but this is where we started to be concerned that maybe they are now addicted to gaming, and we don't want that. And also we started to increase the knowledge about sharing knowledge and how every engineer is now has or obliged to go to the store or to the gamification and put some of his experience there by writing, where he can also gain another point. And this was a great enabler for us to take the gamification to the next level. Yes. With a big database of knowledge sharing, because people were happy to put their experience now. We were able to initiate another project, which is artificial intelligence and adopting chatbot as service agent. So instead of our human who pick the phone and who interact with the customer in the as a frontliner, we had a technical agent called Sheikh. He was the guy who received the tickets, and based on the huge database that we were able to collect, he analyzed the type of the ticket. He also analyzed who will be the best technical engineer who can respond to this ticket, and automatically Shihab, the technical agent, will transfer the ticket to the best technical support. By this, we saved time. We reduced the dependency on technical agent, but instead of firing a technical agent, we were able to give him a better career. He was moved to a better job, system administration, as well as the ability to they can increase happiness more with our customers.
Did you develop this application internally, or you hired a vendor to implement it?
The algorithm was developed internally, actually.
Okay.
Internal team.
Great.
And then we decided also to have it to the public facing also. So it wasn't only serving the internal customer, but also our public facing customer can go to our website and they can put their requests or issues or suggestions as well. And Shihab will be handling those requests on behalf of us.
Great, great.
In the tourism side, if I also can speak about one example that we have done, and it is relative to the first session that McKinsey Digital was presenting. We tried also to utilize innovation or technologies to understand our customer better, and the most important customer for us is the tourist.
Yes.
We started to think how we can really utilize the machines in the hand of the tourist to understand him better.
Okay.
And we started to discuss with the airport, Abu Dhabi airport, because every customer or every tourist who will stop in the airport will use the Wi-Fi there. So why don't we think of utilizing that? If any person connects to the Wi-Fi, we can then gain some information about him through the mobile, or maybe to track him, what he's doing inside the airport, and try to understand him better.
Great, great. I think these are very interesting experience, you know, and I personally, I looked at your gamification system, and I think this is a very good case for the government to look at the work that you've done, really to engage, you know, whether it's internal customers or external customers. Going to Muna, can Muna, you tell us about some of the things that you've done, you know, within the Executive Council, some of the latest innovative examples that you can share with us?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me for today's talk. It's quite interesting to be here with Nawal and Yusuf, right? I think your case is quite interesting. We will have a separate talk later. The thing is, in the council, if I will talk about the council a little bit, we are not a service-oriented organization, so we don't look at a list of services like many other organizations. So we actually focus on these services internally, and we focus on our processes, and we focus on the strategy and how we execute the strategy. From here, we have actually moved to a project. We have deployed, or we have developed actually an integrated platform to fulfill our strategy to execution needs in the council. And this was part of our journey of digital transformation, because TEC, the council, is like any other organization, also has to cope with the latest technologies and the latest policies which is coming regarding technologies. And like having said the paperless environment, we have started with our enterprise architecture project, which is the digital transformation is as an umbrella for all these new technologies that we are bringing in to the council. This has led us to have, as in the beginning, they were in the earlier session, they were talking about the processes, and there are lots of processes need to be automated based on the business requirement. Now the thing is, what we have done is our processes are very unique to our culture and very unique to our environment. Therefore, you cannot find these processes made in standard models or standard packages, wherein we have developed this platform, filling the gaps and having these processes automated. So at least we will streamline the complete process, the full cycle, and we will achieve the paperless strategy that is there in Dubai. Okay. Being a council, we should actually be heading these initiatives. Especially, we have the advantage of being a small organization. Our processes are not so complicated like the big organizations, but they have their uniqueness. So we have started with this initiative, and we have actually went to a very good stage wherein we have now our enterprise architecture platform ready. We have now a couple of processes already automated. We have also our support system, service desk and all that, all embedded. we are able now to give our management a complete digital dashboards wherein they can actually pinpoint on the pain areas.
Right.
And that is actually the focus wherein how to go very digitalized. We live in TEC a very dynamic environment wherein decisions need to be taken on the spot and quick, but it has to be based on data and based on information and based on studies. Since we don't have much of time and since we don't have much of, I would say, the leverage of going and doing intensive researches, but what we do is we provided the data, we have put the data in such a way that it can make it easier for the management to take decisions, to see where are the gaps.
Right.
The nature of our work is more of handling projects. We are a project-based organization, so we have a very big number of projects, and each project has its own uniqueness because some of them are at the level of Dubai, some of them at the level of a government entity, some of them internal, some of them external. So we have a different type of projects with different priorities, with different risks. And here is the point wherein we want to give the directors or the management, even the higher management, I'm talking about His Highness whenever we send them the reports, how actually, what is the performance of these projects are happening, where are we, where are the delays. This cannot happen for us, in our case, it cannot happen through a standard performance tool. Therefore, we have done quite a lot of customization and a lot of automation to internal processes that can actually go seamless with any standard project management tool and performance tool. So now we can actually track, people would get notifications, people would know what's the next milestone, whether it's in mobile, whether it's in dashboards, reminders, no need to justify, things are all transparent. And we achieve. The best thing is you achieve on time. You don't need to give justifications anymore. You don't need to have that sort of pull and push discussions. Now everything is very open in the front of the management.
Interesting.
So that's all we are achieving it through our digital move and through our initiatives of automating all our processes. And yes, I agree to the point that when you do move to a paperless environment, you tend to come up, or not come up, you tend to bump into lots of processes you are not actually, they were not visible to you, or they were there but you were not actually considering them. But since they are based on paper, then only you realize that, okay, we have to actually tackle these pinpoints. And these are the pinpoints that we need to waive them, and these are the pinpoints that we have to actually automize. So it's a journey which we are in the halfway in that project, yet to finish. It's almost a 3 years project, and we are almost 1.5 years away from it. We still have a map, I would say a roadmap to continue.
Yes.
And I'm expecting at the end of this journey, or at the end of this project, we would have the most advanced tool to our decision makers at that point of time.
Great, great. So again, another example of the increased reliance on the data for the government, to leverage the data to be able to enhance and improve business process automation, and execution, which is quite interesting. Yusuf, I'll give you the chance to speak about some of the things that you guys are doing at Ajman Municipality and the Planning Department.
First of all, I would like to welcome everyone. Thank you for giving us the chance to participate in this great conference. Doctor, early morning, we wake up and we say, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, asbahna wa asbahna al-mulk. So this is the journey, actually. I would like just to shift a little bit, because the idea is not to talk about the IT side, more of the business, how business move, actually.
Yes.
So we wake up at early morning and we do all of these activities, and we plan our journey from morning, what we are going to do. I'll bring that to a point where how did Ajman municipality actually look at this in a different way? We actually had a problem in 2013, which is the parking system of Ajman city, and we had tremendous issues to do with the integration with the Ministry of Interior, to do with the RTA issues, all of that stuff, and people are actually complaining continuously about the service itself. In 2014, we came up with the platform and a mobile application called Mawqifi. And it's simple, parking application. That doesn't make any sense actually, because this is everywhere, it's available. But what is really new about this application is the innovation side of the government participation in it. We look at it in a different angle. How many of you have got a reward back from a government or a bonus for using a service? This is available in this application.
Interesting.
Up to 60% discount if you use the application. So the adoption came from the idea of, if I'm going to use this application, I'm going to get a discount and I'm going to get a bonus hours more for my parking. That is 2014. We are in 2018. Does that fulfill the people demand? Well, they are happy about the SMS parking, which we introduced last year. But that doesn't make any sense, at least for me. With this experience, I want to fly. I want to give them at least a seamless experience with the parking system or the parking service. I'm trying to push a new idea with a new edge, with a new way of doing things, trying to fix the legal side of it, the financial people, which they are looking at the area of revenue, how to get the revenue, and changing the game. How? How to change the game? How many of you get the fine here? Parking fine. Can you raise your hand? Wow. Okay, that's good. This guy, because he's an Ajman.
He's very straight.
He's going to buy an Ajman continuously. Yes. So, how about if we just give you the option of not getting a fine? No more fines.
Would be great.
We shifted from normal way of, rather than applying, pay as you go. It's a utility. We move it to a utility, like the electricity, like it's a bill. When you come to renew your car, as much as you use the parking, you pay for it. Now people say, what is the new of that? No, we are using the artificial intelligence for that. We are using the image recognition by using the ANPR, the technology, and the parking lots which we have. And this idea actually opened something new for us. It's a business opportunity even for the private sector. We understand the budget.
So you charge a flat rate annually
no,
for parking?
It's a new project actually. I'm trying to just let you know about it, because last year we did a demo on GITEX. This year we're trying to push it to the next level. We found that it's very expensive for Ajman government to build the entire system. In that case, which it is the financial side, you stop sometimes. How to overcome that? You go with something called PPP model. You go with the BOT model. So that is the innovation that we look at. Now, what does that mean? We created a new ecosystem.
Right.
This is a new ecosystem. This is what is innovation supposed to be, taking you to the next edge. The other example that I would like to give is for the tenancy contract attestation service. Dubai has Ijari. Ijari is actually, for me, how can I say, قدوة.
Yeah, it's a role model.
A role model that I look at it. And I was really dreaming when I left Dubai how this works for them and how fast is the process itself. When we came to Ajman, we created Tasdeeq. Tasdeeq is a contract attestation service. 150,000 people comes to our business center just to attestate their documents. And management actually were putting in budgets how to expand the center. Go with the seal, go with... So why? Because we need more space for people to come. Where is the problem now? But the problem actually, the more that you expand, the more also you have the building permits to build more housing. So that you are not going to reach your destination if you have today, or your target, if you have 150,000 contracts this year, with the massive development in the city, next year we'll have 170. Second year we'll have 200 And it grows. So you have to keep adding more centers. We went to the legal. There were a discussion today with the paperless about the legalization, and I was talking to Dr. Basteki about that. It's the legal people who have to help us. We put them in a room, and we tell them, we have an idea, and we need you to help us with it. And they say, go away, we are not gonna play with the real estate industry. This is not a joke. This is a real money, and money has no, this is a very big vertical when it comes to the government income. But what we did, we told them we're not gonna change anything. We are just gonna switch the customers. We only want the property owners to deal with us and change the business model. Let them deal with their customers. We switched from 150,000 customers coming to our center to 3,700. Those 3,700 now issue the contracts in a spot within 2 minutes. In the past, we used to do this in like 1 week, 1 week for the commercial, 3 days for the non-commercial, which is the housing. If it is other type of contracts, it was taking maybe more to get the permission. Okay, that's not enough also. 2 minutes is not enough. Not enough. For Sheikh Rashid, it's not enough. We introduced the auto approval now, and it is in the spot.
Great.
Same time. We are working currently with FIWA, because we are part of the federal government, and trying to get them on board with us to integrate with our system, so their digital meters, the new ones, which they are currently testing in several areas. We have around 70 or 80 shops now currently in Ajman seated there, to be integrated with us. The moment that the contract at state in our system, the meter get activated at the same time.
Interesting.
So this is the journey, the customer journey. If I'm getting an investor and he wants to pay, and he wants to do his business, I want to make it much easier and faster for him to allocate and to activate his service on the spot at that time.
Right.
So those two examples, I will leave the blockchain and all of that stuff because there is a lot of things to talk about, but we would like to see some good examples as these things happening.
And again, I think this is one of the interesting areas where we see really the PPP model, the public-private partnerships within the government and the private sector, is the collaboration between the two sectors to really to come up with innovation. Sometimes, the government is really restricted by the budget and the amount they can spend, but if they can interact with the private sector and help to build this kind of innovation, I think this is where we we're focusing the government efforts in the PPP.
Can I add something? If you think about how we look at it from the parking point of view, is Ajman government has to keep building parks and parkings for the and they have to allocate a lot of these lands, and Ajman is a very small city. And I told His Highness, we can't keep doing these experiments. While we want to expand even in our flow of the cars in the city, all of these things, and we don't have corridors for people to walk in. These are an old issues. How about reutilizing the buildings itself? Early morning, people are going to Dubai. Okay, most of the people are working in Dubai. Those parkings in the buildings can be reutilized. It's a new ecosystem for those people to reutilize it. They are free, they are safe, they are better. You get your car, if you park your car in one of these buildings, actually in summertime, it will be cold. So that's another experience we add on top of that. Rather than coming to your car and switching it and it's very hot and sweating, all of that stuff. So this is how we look at it. If you look at all aspects, I think there is a value that governments can do with the business.
Great. We really have a very short time for this session, but we have one question really to the panelists. We'll start with you, Nawal. First of all, you spoke about the gamification experience and you implemented it on a smaller scale, probably with the service desk. When you looked at the results of this, do you have a plan to scale this gamification probably in a much wider area, to cover much wider area? This is one thing. And the other thing is we see that these developments actually, in your case, happens internally, with your staff, being able to do machine learning and AI and also gamification. How we really stay on top of innovation culture within the IT departments, how you bring this culture to your staff, how you became your staff more innovative to stay at the top of these technologies.
Yeah, for the gamification, our experience for the service desk was just a pilot. And I think what we needed is to build a case for our management, for the senior management to believe in gamification. It wasn't the final goal for us. As you know, maybe people will not take it seriously inside corporate when you go and say, I want to change the way of work to be gamification. It might be seen as waste of time or joking or whatever. But after the successful implementation and experience that we had with it, we're trying now to take it to a wider scale internally, where we're going to implement the same concept across all the departments. So the daily work for every department, the daily operation and processes will be transformed to gamification. And also our strategy development will be executed in terms of games. And this is also to encourage the project managers who are our enablers to achieve our targets to start to compete to each other, as well as to look at their role as a project managers or leading strategic projects as one important role where they can gain benefit from it also.
Right.
In the terms of the public facing, we're also trying to embed the gamification concept in our Visit Abu Dhabi app. We have Visit Abu Dhabi app, which is addressing our tourists, and it has too many services. But until now, we were not really able to introduce gamification. So some of the ideas that we would like also to introduce is people, while they are using the app to gain or to get information about where they can go in Abu Dhabi, where they can stay, where they can eat, we want them also to feel that they are playing a game in their mobile. So maybe building some of the characters where they can start to interact with them during their journey and gaining some point, as well as answering some of the quizzes that might really ask them about, or can also help us to see if they are if their awareness about the emirate is really high or low by answering some of the questions and gaining some of the points and etc. Also in the gamification, we're trying to engage private sector, so we will not succeed if we keep it always in the scope of our own service, because usually the customer will look at the journey as a whole. So also inviting our some of the hotels, some of the pioneer hotels, as well as some of the key attractions in Abu Dhabi, to try to build a bigger platform of gamification where people can enjoy the concept across all in the emirate.
Great, great. So how you stay at top of innovation within the staff, within the IT staff themselves? How you bring this culture that they need to be at the forefront of this development?
By too many things, but we don't focus on IT actually, because innovation, IT is a great enabler for innovation, but they should not really lead innovation in the organization. Right. So we have different enablers in the organization. We launched our framework, innovation framework, 1 year back. Which also provides some guidance and some awareness about innovation, importance of innovation. We appointed innovation ambassadors in all the key sectors in the organization.
Interesting.
We also formed a committee that will have to review the big ideas that can be implemented or can be seen as a great value for the business and for the emirate as a whole. Also, we have, of course, rewarding system that will support this. In addition to making sure that innovation become one of the competencies that employees across the whole organization will be evaluated against. So in our performance appraisal, innovation is one important competency, and every employee is also being, it's like just to make sure that employees keep it in their mind. They have to remember that they should not really do their work traditionally. But one simple thing we did, it's really something very simple. I can say that those are main enablers for us, but one simple idea we did, which is keeping people engaged with us. Very simple. It doesn't involve technology, doesn't involve money, doesn't involve anything. Just one wall in the organization. We called it the Creative and Innovation Wall. Very big wall. People can just pass by and by a sticker, they write their idea, their complaint, their suggestion. It can tackle anything, business, operations, processes, employee rewarding, anything that they like, don't like, and they can just post it. It doesn't take a minute from them, and we saw too much engagement because people see it very simple. We don't ask them to do anything, not to go to IT system or open a system, drop an idea. It's just a wall and they stick a sticker. And this is how we keep it also in the mind of the employees also.
Great, great. Mona, in your case, how you stay on top of this innovation?
It's quite interesting actually. As she said, innovation is not only on IT, it's across all the functions, I would say. In my case, we've started with two things actually. I always encourage the team and the IT team to have an open environment of learning, researching and development. That is really very important, and we need it very well also in our organization. So what we have done is we have created something called a test lab, a very small lab in the council. And we do all our testings and all our experiments. Sometimes I tell them, you know what, I don't want to hear an explosion happening over there. So the thing is, they sit and they do all their testings. This lab is also open for business, not only for IT. We invite the business, we encourage the business. Because the thing is, the business also, they might be having tools, and they come up with things that surprises us. We were just having a discussion this morning that IT is very focused, that we don't actually sometimes look around what the business is also doing. And when we started with this lab, actually, surprisingly, the business people also, our other departments, they've started contributing and coming in and asking us, can we turn this to this? And so they are actually learning, we are learning with them, and we keep the learning loop there, and we document that learning. The best part is we document that learning.
Right.
The thing is, with our initiative of our project of enterprise architecture, we have also a portal internally wherein we open a channel of a discussion with people, with us, and in IT and business. And we will be posting, right now is not yet launched, but the plan is we will be posting all our experiments in it. We will be posting all our white papers over there, and we will open it to other, exactly like CIOMajlis. Because the thing is, we have different experiences. We come from a different backgrounds, and we come with different line of businesses.
Great.
People like us who are not business or not service oriented would look at IT in a different way than people who are actually service oriented. So research and development is quite a big space in our organization, actually, in IT specifically.
Interesting, interesting. Yusuf, for few probably 30 seconds, for 1 minute here, how you can do this, what we're doing?
Well, actually, in Ajman municipality, we came with an initiative called Ajman X. And it's actually an innovation hub. And it has an incubators inside it where businesses and even private sector can come and can sit all together and find the solutions for all of their problems. And even if there is no problem, we create a problem, okay? And we try to solve it. It's actually thinking ahead of what will happen in the future, of how can we fix this. It could be a problem in the future. Today it's not a problem, but it could be in the future as a problem. Actually, this Ajman X in the beginning was a challenge actually, because usually the ownership of something like that usually goes to the executive council. But the lead of Sheikh Rashid at that time, he took the lead and he said, how much we are going to wait? There is no time for that. I need it to be happening now, and I want all of the governments to come all together, sit and fix all of their problems out of their offices. Because these meetings happening, you come to me, I come to you, this sometimes doesn't work also, some politics there. Let's break this politics under an innovation hub, open for everyone. Everyone can participate, everyone can have their ideas, and let's make a roadmap for that to become something that give a value. So it become like a center of excellence now. Slowly. They have the second floor of this now. There is an incubator there where companies can come and they can show their practice as well. And I welcome everyone. If you go to the internet and just write Ajman X, just this statement there or this word, you can see exactly what's happening there. And we have almost weekly activities there. And I welcome also Smartworld to join us there. Maybe in one of the sessions can happen there, and we can get His Highness Sheikh Rashid, and maybe His Highness Sheikh Ammar also can participate part of that.
Quite interesting. I mean, so we heard about some of the examples from the government. I think the innovation journey never stops. Talking about looking at the innovation now being more of a process that is embedded within the government and more of interaction between the business and the IT. It never looked at it as an IT to innovate, but the business has to innovate. And I think, some of looking myself into engaging with the government, with other government departments, whether in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi, we see that many government organizations have reached a level of innovation maturity where they go for innovation management certifications and to reach to a high maturity level when it comes to innovation, starting from appointing chief innovation officers to now we have the leadership of the country, have dedicated an entire month of November for the government to showcase their innovation. I think this journey will never stop, and we will be seeing more and more as we're going into the new technologies of AI and blockchain and the big data analytics. We see a lot of adoptions coming on the government side on this. I would like to thank our panelists for sharing their experiences, Her Excellency Nawal Al-Hassani and Muna and Yusuf for sharing their experiences for this panel. And because of the time, I think we had a half an hour. We exceeded probably with 5 or 7 minutes. Really thank you all, and thank you audience for listening. Thank you. Shukran Nawal, thank you for being with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saeed, Yusuf, Mona, and Nawal for the lovely presentation.